My name is Kevin Furman. I'm a percussionist and have been teaching and playing for over 25 years, and I wanted to take some time and shed light on a subject that really does seem to baffle too many players, especially beginning and intermediate, but even in advanced level. I noticed that a lot of people have trouble having their roll be relaxed, tension-free. And so this series of videos is all about playing your rolls tension-free, and they will become unbelievable. Really, you can play as fast as you want, you can play as soft as you want, as loud as you want, once you master the basic fundamental principles of what I'm doing. And these 10 steps take you through that idea. So as you go through this process, make sure that it makes sense. Go over them many, many times. If something doesn't make sense and you're not sure about it, feel free to email me. My email will be on this video here. So just email me anytime. Let me know you got any questions or you weren't sure what I was talking about. So please check out all 10 steps. Try not to skip any. If you skip some, then you might lose some of the effects of it, and it won't be nearly as effective, and you won't get the results you really, I think, are looking for. So really, to clarify, what I see people do is when they play a roll, they tend to play with what I call squeeze technique. So it's pretty much all in the thumb and the forefinger. And what happens is when you try to bounce, you have to squeeze the stick really hard at the fulcrum to make it bounce. So you can make it do that, but it's very high tension and it starts to hurt after a while. Really, if you do it correctly, there should be no pain in rolling. So if you're having any pain, any sort of tension in your under forearm, you're squeezing somewhere, you got some tension, you need to get rid of that. If you have some in the upper forearm, that might be okay depending on the situation. I'd have to see you personally. Feel free to Skype me and we'll talk about it. Anyway, so what you really want to do is set up a good fulcrum, and even if you slightly cheat, i.e. have your fingers underneath, kind of underneath but not really touching, right? So you still want them all touching the stick. What you really want is a full amount of contact so that you have full amount of control. So if you're doing any sort of squeezing, please stop now and go through the video. And it shouldn't hurt at all. And if you are squeezing, it does hurt at some point. So what I can say is, after playing for a long time in the marching idiom, the concert idiom, percussion ensemble, with my own groups and with other people, the people that really have a handle on this are the ones that excel. The ones that don't seem to struggle, at least at some point. Most early on students do this almost immediately. They start to just squeeze it and press into the drum. Very bad idea. So please stop doing that if you are. And if you aren't, great, then maybe this will shed a little bit more light, maybe give it a little bit more scope of how to develop it to a higher level. So check it all out, and again, go through all the steps, please. And if you got any questions, please see me. The site is www.furmanmusic.com. kfurman@furmanmusic.com is my email. Be glad to chat with you about drumming or anything else you'd like to chat about. All right, take care. Okay, now what do we need to do? I need to talk a little bit, take a few minutes here and talk about technique. In this video series, I'm only going to be talking about German grip or match grip. So as far as those of you that do traditional grip or want to talk French grip, that's another discussion that comes later. This is kind of the first start of it, and down in the future I might go through those. But right now I'm just going to deal with match grip. That where beginning students need the most help, and it's most applicable to different instruments, i.e. mallets and drum set and timpani and snare drum. So I just want to address that first. And really the approach I'm taking, and I don't foresee anyone saying, well, this is the answer. There is no one the answer, but this goes a long way to alleviate a lot of tension. And it really has helped a number of my students feel confident in just playing evenly and having a nice roll. So here's what we want to do. So match grip, both hands obviously doing the same thing. So if you're right-handed or left-handed, doesn't really matter. The technique works the same for both hands. All through this entire process, make sure you work on evenness. So if one hand's heavier or stronger than the other, make sure you're developing muscles in the weaker hand as you go. I'll talk about that throughout the series. So technique-wise, what you want to do is take any stick, and if you, like where to put your hand is where we're going to start. So where you want to start is about a third of the way up the stick. You want to take your thumb and put it right about that point. So if you were to cut it into equal amounts, thirds, if you're going to measure that out, it'd be roughly right around here on this stick. If you happen to have Vic First sticks, a little commercial, they do print their name right above that fulcrum point, and they do that for advertising purposes, of course, but it also is a great guide. The American Classic Series has a flag on there, so if you happen to have those, you can put your thumb on there. That's a great place to start. We'll refine that throughout this process, but No, that's a great place to start. So what you want to do is you want to put your thumb pointing with the stick, so it's not turned sideways at all, right? You really do want it to point straight up with or out from your hand to the end of the stick. And also, here's a crucial point, and this is where a lot of people miss it. What you want to do is put your stick on that fulcrum point opposite your thumb in that first knuckle, the first crease of your first knuckle. Okay, it should be right opposite your thumb. So you really want those straight across from each other. And that's really, really important. Super important. I can't stress that enough, and I rarely can say it enough to people, because usually what will happen is they'll wrap that index finger around really far, so they'll actually be touching those together, kind of like so. And you don't want to do that. What that does, it actually gets in the way. It actually promotes squeezing of the stick and gets in the way of you fully controlling the stick with the other fingers. So what I would highly recommend is that you keep a very big gap between your thumb and your first finger, not trying to point your finger at all, so it's not pointing at all, but it's really, what you're trying to do is get it to be where it's just cradled right in that first crease, your thumb's straight across from there, and there's a gap there. The more you can get there, the easier it is to adapt to playing with all your fingers doing the control instead of squeezing. So that's the first thing to do. So check that out, and if you need more clarification, please email me. All right, the other thing to think about is, okay, the other three fingers are the ones that actually do all the controlling. So these two, their thumb and your forefinger, are the guiding fingers on the stick. They are not the controlling fingers. So you do not try to push and pull the stick around like this, or you're not doing any of that stuff. At least right now, what we're talking about right now as far as match grip, full control with other fingers. Your other three fingers are the ones that actually do all the work of the stick. So what you really want to do is get to a point where all your fingers are on the stick. So you really want to feel your pinky staying on the stick. Another thing that happens, a lot of people tend to push their pinkies out, because they're sort of halfway doing this. And you don't want to do that either. You actually want all your fingers on the stick, and that will give you maximum amount of control. Okay, so as far as that goes, that's where you put your hand, that's where you put your fingers. They're on the stick, it's in your hand. So another thing to watch for is it flopping around. Okay, you do not want it to flop around in your hand like this. That's a bad idea. Okay, so don't do that. Really what you want is everything's kind of controlled with the wrist at this point, and we're going to cover that in a second here, but try not to do it as a dead stick, rubber pencil thing, right? You really want to do it all with your wrist. So first thing. So in talking about the wrist, let me clarify that a little bit. We are dealing with muscle groups when you're drumming, obviously. So you have three main muscle groups that you're going to be dealing with when you roll. Okay, you've got your arm muscles, which are really big, really strong, but they're slow and they're kind of stupid. So you don't want to use those too much. They really don't aid in the finesse of doing a roll. They have a lot of power, but not for for rolling. You really don't need them. Your wrist muscles are the ones that really do most of the work, and they're the ones you need to watch carefully. And then you also use your finger muscles, which are very, very fast, but relatively not very strong. So they're the ones that do all the quick work. Your wrists are the ones that do all the controlling, really. And then your arm muscles really pretty much just support the whole thing. So you don't necessarily want to use a lot of arm. That's actually going to slow you down. If you need to play loud, you'll learn how in this process. Okay. Now, as far as position of your hand, this is where some people, they'll tend to play kind of with their thumb up or, whatever. And I would at first recommend not doing that. It's not wrong to play this style. It's kind of a French grip style. The only problem is it kind of promotes your wrist being in this position as opposed to this position. And the thing about that is this is a lot easier for your wrist to do. It's way easier. Just if you check this out right now, it's way easier to do that than say side to side or when you turn up and down to just your wrist. So this promotes using a little bit more arm motion, and I like people to avoid that right away. Let's just deal with one muscle group at a time. All right, so French grip, let's deal with that later. Right now, we're just going to deal with this. So it's a palms down approach. Think your palm facing the ground. That doesn't have to be totally flat, so you don't have to flatten out your hand. Just kind of relax, but generally it's pointing towards the ground. Should be a really relaxed position. So that should be pretty normal. Should match up with what most people have heard about drumming, but that's really the reason behind all that stuff. Okay, tips of the stick should stay close together. Put them in the middle of the drum, right, rather than at the edge or in two different places. Okay, if you play in two different places on the drum, you get two different sounds. Bad idea. You really want to keep the same sound going with each hand, so it's real consistent. So work at that. Also, Make sure that when you're sitting or standing, especially those of you in band and in orchestra, if you're standing, you don't want the drum too low. If it's too low, your wrists tend to be already bent, and then you have to start using your hands. If it's too high, well, it looks goofy, but it just is awkward and it's very weak. So you really want it at a position where your wrist is straight, your arms come straight up your body, slightly downward, slightly, not down like like that much. Really, about that far. And so when you hit the drum, your wrist is straight. It's not bent or in any direction. So that's what you're going for. Also, if you sit too close to the drum, to play in the middle, you're going to pull your elbows back like this. Bad idea. If you do that right now, if you just pretend and do that right now, you'll see there's a lot of tension in your shoulder blade area. Yeah, it's a bad idea. So you really want it so your elbow hangs straight down from your shoulder, very, very relaxed, okay? No holding your elbows out, right? So nothing like this. That's a bad idea because tension starts here, okay? So really what you want is, you're just sitting, your elbows are hanging straight down from your shoulder, and you're playing. Okay, so there's that. Also, playing through the drum is real important. And what I mean by that is, you can aim at something. So if I'm aiming at my hand, I'm kind of aiming right here. Really what you want to do is try to aim through the drum so you get a good sound. So sound-wise, right, if I aim at the pad here on my drum, I'll get a sound. It'll make sound. But if I start aiming through it, so what I'm doing is aiming at the drum, and then I want to aim through it, with the same amount of effort, I'm going to get a lot bigger sound. So with your hand on the stick and in your hand, meaning there's no gap and it's not flopping around, but you actually have it in your hand, and you aiming through the drum, immediately you're going to get a stronger sound. Now, one don't in this whole thing is you don't press on the drum, so it's definitely not that, okay? And then, everybody pretty much knows that, but just be careful that when you're doing this, when you think about playing through the drum, okay, and I aim about, 2-3 inches below the drum really is what I'm doing, you get this nice full sound without pressing on it, right? Without having to hit harder. And even when I'm playing quiet, I'm still aiming below the drum. Okay, that's minor point right now. You'll learn that as you learn your more finesse as you play longer. Right now, worry about sticks together, palms down, thumb and first finger across from each other with the gap between them. Also, all fingers on the stick, and you mainly want to use your wrists in this palms down position. So there's technique in a nutshell. Again, if you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks for checking out the series 10 Steps to Unbelievable Rolls. I hope you enjoy it. Please let me know if you got any comments and or questions. Take care. We'll see you around.